Hello and welcome to the Wellness Connection podcast. I'm your host, Fiona Kane. I'm going to give you some heart health tips today. So, the first thing I wanted to talk about is one thing that people don't think about too much, and I've heard Dr. Ross Walker, the cardiologist, talking about some of these things before as well, is he talks about addictions. We forget sometimes that addictions are part of the issue. So when I talk to my clients about whether or not it's you should have more good fats or whether more protein or whatever they need to do to support their heart health, part of the issue isn't always, it's not just about what you need to add, it's what you need to take away. And sometimes there are other things that you're using you're having them instead of actually just having real food, or you're doing those things instead of doing things that are beneficial for your health. So partly the things that we're addicted to sometimes take away the time or the money or the hunger or whatever it is for the things that would be beneficial to you, besides the fact of those things potentially being harmful to you as well. So those addictions could be many things. It could be addiction to drugs or alcohol, which of course is going to be really, really damaging to all of your health, including your heart health. It could be addiction to food. And I've talked about before using the word addiction. I don't really like using the word addiction in association with food because the idea, our solution for addiction is avoiding the thing, and you can't avoid food. So I generally prefer to use the term habituation, but essentially eating in an unhealthy way where, you struggle to stop the food, or addiction to drugs and alcohol, as I was talking about before. But it might also be other things. It might be addiction to games, to scrolling on the internet, being on TikTok all of the time. It might be gambling, whatever it is. But essentially, when you're doing something that takes up a lot of your time and energy, and often these things cause you a lot of stress. So they either cause you a lot of stress because they themselves are damaging, like the drugs and alcohol, or they might cause you a lot of stress because like the time and effort you're doing it. So if you're spending all of your time on the internet, and you could be working or doing something useful, well, that's going to be stressful because it's going to reduce how much, whether or not you get a job, or whether or not you get your work done throughout the day, or whether or not you just do life things, right? So if you're spending hours and hours every day on the internet, there's a lot of life things that aren't happening for you, right? So it's going to affect your life one way or the other, whether it's your job or your relationships or your income or whatever it is. Also, being online all the time, and when you're in your online world, sometimes it affects our ability to actually have relationships because we're not dealing with people in the real world. We're sort of just dealing with this sort of online stuff. So there's a lot of different ways that addictions can look, but generally there are things that take away your time and energy, cause you stress, and or cause you physical damage. So when we're looking at heart health, we do need to look at what are those things. It could also include smoking or vaping or those kinds of things. And I'm sure there's things I've missed out, but you get the idea. Basically something that you compulsively feel the need to do that is not adding to your life in a positive way, and potentially is detracting. Drugs too, it's like one of those things that sometimes I've had clients come to see me and say, I want to learn how to eat healthily. And then they've got, I don't know, they're using cocaine or something like that. And look, each to their own. You do what you want to do, but don't think using cocaine isn't going to be damaging for your heart health, right? We know that caffeine itself is really damaging to heart health, and people who overdo caffeine, and it doesn't have to be that much for some people, they can end up having, something like a cardiac arrest, which not many people survive. So, and that actually did happen to my brother, and he was overdoing the pre-workout drinks and the and caffeinated sort of energy drinks and things like that. I can't say for sure it's what caused it, but he was 33 and fit and healthy, and he had a cardiac arrest. He was lucky; he survived because at the time he was a policeman and he was with other policemen, and they did CPR, and ambos came quickly and all that sort of stuff. So that was a story that ended well. But he was just overdoing the caffeine, right? So just caffeine itself can be too much for your heart, let alone something like cocaine. So I've had clients say, oh, why is cocaine going to be a problem for my heart? Well, of course it is, right? Because it's what we've got to think about with a lot of these drugs. A lot of these drugs will speed up our heart, or it'll slow down our heart, or sometimes they do both. People will have something like an upper at the same time as they'll have it with alcohol, right? So a lot of drugs people take and they drink alcohol, so they're having something to slow down your system and something to speed up at the same time. Not good for your heart. Very possible that it could kill you. So please consider, do what you want if you're an adult, but just don't think that you're not damaging your heart or you're not causing yourself big risk there, right? And it's great to have a healthy diet, but if you have a healthy diet and you're overdoing it on the drugs, or you're using those sorts of drugs at all, could be an issue. And actually, not even just illicit drugs, it could actually be prescribed drugs as well. You've always got to assess whatever treatments you're using, and whether or not they are suitable for you, and whether or not they're helping you, or whether or not they might be causing you damage. More often than not, it's things like kidney and liver damage that drugs can cause. But all damage in the body, those damage to any of your organs, may or may not affect your heart ultimately. So, okay, addictions is one thing. So the next thing is, a good sleep habits. So there is a lot of evidence to say that, people with sleep apnea, people who are sort of not breathing properly throughout the night, there's a really high risk of heart disease associated with that, because you're just not getting enough oxygen and you're not getting enough quality sleep. And our sleep time is where a lot of really important things happen in the body. So a lot of that rest and digest stuff, where your body detoxifies, where your brain kind of deals with maybe whatever's gone on throughout the day and files things in the right spot. And essentially your body does all of its processes it needs to do to recover and replenish. And if you're not getting healthy sleep and you're awake a lot of the night and not getting oxygen, that's really going to affect you. So the other thing too is that, I see this with people where they say that I'm tired all of the time. And then I ask them what time they go to bed, and they say, well, I'm up binge watching a TV show till 2 in the morning, or playing on the internet, or whatever it is. It's just not feasible, especially not long term. So if you're wondering why you're tired and you're, going to bed at 2 a.m., there's a clue, right? And it might sound like it's something really silly to say, but we often don't. I don't know. It's a weird thing how we kind of just go, oh, I'm tired, and we don't stop and look at our own, the choices that we've made and how those choices impact. So obviously going to bed at a reasonable time and getting, at least 7 hours sleep is best for most people. I don't think even the people who say they can do with it, I don't think you should be getting less than 6 hours. And it could be split up, especially as we get older. We don't always sleep as well, but sometimes older people will do 2 shifts or something. But getting enough sleep and having really, really good sleep habits, because if you're up until 2 a.m. and then you're, going to getting up at 6 a.m. or 7 a.m., that's not enough sleep. And the thing is, then what adds to that then is then you're going to be tired. And because you're going to be tired, you're going to make poor choices. So whether or not that's like higher risk of having a car accident, all those things, which is part of it, but it's also you're going to be reaching for lots of caffeine and sugar and stuff to pep you up, because you're going to feel tired. So the more tired we are, we make poor choices. And either we do exercise, but we hurt ourselves because we're fatigued, or we don't exercise because we're too tired to, all right? So it's kind of one of those things that these things seep into each other, right? So if you're doing the addiction thing, you're probably not taking time to do the exercise. If you're up all night or not getting enough sleep, then you're probably too tired to do the exercise, or more likely to hurt yourself. You're more likely to eat junk food, that sort of thing. So it's kind of the thing with all of these things is they do, like I said, they bleed into each other and drive each other. So getting good quality sleep is really important. So the next one on the list is nutrition. And of course, I've talked about nutrition a lot here, and I'm not going to go into it in a lot of detail here. But essentially, good quality, healthy diet, real food, where you're having protein with every meal, you're having plenty of colourful vegetables, a little bit of fruit, especially the colourful berry kind, like things like blueberries, those things that are sort of chock block full of antioxidants and lots of nutrition. Eating things like eggs, which are really healthy, not leaving out the yolks, and good quality fats. So that could be the oils that are in fish, and or taking fish oil. It could be, your olive oil, the fats that come naturally in food, like I said, like the eggs, things like walnuts. So those avocados, that kind of thing. So basically a healthy diet with plenty of good fats, lovely serves of protein, and the majority of her carbs being colorful vegetables and some fruit. Generally speaking, that's a really, really healthy diet. And you might have a little bit on top of that, a little bit of bread or some other kind of grains or rice or whatever it is for you that works well for you. But generally speaking, if the core diet is, the protein, the good fats, and the colorful fruit and vegetables, that's a really good way to be. Now, what's happened here? For some reason, my computer fell asleep. Okay, we're back. Don't think it stopped. It's just my computer went off. So anyway, so that's just a general idea with eating healthy diet. It's essentially a healthy diet that helps balance your blood glucose levels, and when you're balancing your blood glucose levels, then that helps prevent things like type 2 diabetes and insulin resistance. And that's one of the biggest things from a dietary point of view that actually drives heart disease. So it's a really good way to go is to eat a really, really balanced diet. So the next thing on our list is actually exercise. Exercise is really important, and it's amazing the number of people you speak to and they just don't understand the importance of exercise. But it is really, really important for heart health. So obviously we know, most of us have heard about, it's called cardio, right, where you essentially get puffed. You get puffed, you do cardio, whether it's going for a walk or whatever it is, but moving your body enough that you get puffed. Obviously that's using your sort of heart muscle. It's good for your heart muscle, like all of the other muscles. They're there to be used, right? So it's using them to the point where they work well, and essentially what happens is when we do exercise. So in regards to heart health, I was looking up on Dr. Avadia's website, and he was saying that heart training is an essential component of metabolic health, which heart health is part of metabolic health. He says one of the most significant things you can do to reduce your risk of heart attacks, strokes, and similar illnesses. He says that research shows that 30 minutes of exercise per day can vastly improve cardiovascular health, strengthen muscle walls, and essentially when you strengthen those muscle walls, you're able to pump more blood around your body, therefore get more oxygen around your body, and the more blood you get with each contraction, the brain gets more oxygen, right? So the result is, heart stress is reduced, blood pressure drops, and your body regains control over its metabolic processes, right? For those of you watching this, I'm sorry you're seeing me tap on my screen. I can't use my mouse at the moment, so I'm having to touch the screen. So it's a bit weird watching it, but I apologize for that. So anyway, he just said regular exercise may even lead to improved myocardial perfusion. So essentially, I think that is your heart muscle actually getting the nutrition and getting the blood flow around within the heart itself. An increased high-density lipoprotein, so HDL is considered to be the healthy cholesterol, and reduced cardiac stress. He said, heart-focused exercise is neither complex nor time-consuming, since exercise is a cumulative function. A few minutes of dedicated time throughout the day can make a significant difference in your cardiovascular health. And I've really got to support this. I think that we underestimate how important it is to move our bodies, and we think that we need a whole lot of time. And look, it's great if you can take half an hour out and go for a walk, or half an hour out and go and do something, but you can also include it in what you do daily. So it might be that while you're boiling the kettle, you're leaning up against the wall and doing push-ups against the wall or something like that. Now, if you're at risk for falls and fractures and you haven't done much exercise before, get advice from someone who knows, who's an exercise expert and who's an expert in what's right for you. But the general idea would be just moving your body and ways to move your body that is safe for you. And if you're not quite sure, get advice from a professional who knows who can tell you how to do that. But part of that is also doing some sort of resistance training. And so what I just described is resistance training. Any type of weight training is resistance training, but weight training can even be if you're pushing your body up against a wall. That's a type of weight training, right? Because you can use your body for the resistance. It might be pool walking. I actually really like pool walking. I really enjoy that exercise, or it might be swimming itself. All right. So, but just we know that exercise is really important, and it's not just important for your heart muscle. So it's partly that. So what we do know is with resistance training, you do get improved muscle strength and tone, and so it does help protect your joints from injury. But the other thing that you get from resistance training is, you know, you get better bone health. I've talked about it here before. So essentially, the more of that resistance training you do, when you build up muscle and you've got your joints that working a little bit better, your joints are a bit stronger, and your bones are stronger. Well, then now you are overall stronger, and usually then you're going to be less likely to fall, less likely to hurt yourself when you fall, and just more stable. So essentially functional. So when you do training, when you do exercise daily, including resistance training, you really help to keep yourself functional. So you're able to stay on your feet, you're able not to fall over, you're able to do the basics of everyday life. So you're able to, toilet yourself, dress yourself, do all the things you need to do. And so doing the exercise really helps you maintain that independence. The more independence you have, the more you can do those things, the more you'll be regular exercising, because even just getting up and doing all those things is moving your body. Whereas if you're not doing that and you're losing strength and you're losing stability, then we tend to spend a lot more time sitting, which is, really bad for heart health, right? So also, regular exercise is just helps, you know, as part of helping you maintain a healthy weight. It's a little bit more complicated than that, but it's certainly part of it. But also, when you're doing exercise, you're getting blood flow, and of course, you're getting blood flow. It's going to reduce that cognitive decline. So it's really good for your heart for your brain. So you've got to think about if you have a healthy heart and it's flowing properly and the vessels are clear and everything's working the way it should, well, then that's pumping oxygen and nutrients around your body. So the heart is actually what keeps all the other organs healthy. So, it has that flow on effect. So it's also going to, that's why metabolic health will affect your brain function and quite often be a driver of dementia or your mini strokes or things like that, where you're just not getting that blood flow from your heart's not pumping the blood up to your brain. So we do know that you're sort of going to maintain, better cognitive health. Also, the other thing about exercise is it's sort of because it moves your body and gets your body moving. Also, you get those contractions as far as like moving your bowel. So it kind of just keeps everything moving. You get the flow where you need to go, the circulation where you need to go. You get your body's able to, you sweat out whatever you don't need. It moves your bowel, so you move things through. So essentially, it gets everything working the way it's supposed to. Also, you just get an increase of stamina and an increase of ability of what you can do when you're doing more exercise. So, exercise is really, really important. And also, actually, it's really good for blood sugar control. And blood sugar control is part of metabolic health. And the more you have blood sugar control, the more that you are going to reduce your risk of heart disease. The other thing, too, is regular exercise also makes you tired. And so you're more likely to be tired and you're more likely to sleep well. So there's, a lot of things there that make it really, really supportive of having like really, really good heart health in regards to exercise. So don't underestimate exercise as part of how you manage your heart health. Number 5 on this list is actually happiness. Now, Dr. Ross Walker, he says the best drug on the planet is happiness. In each moment, cultivate the attitude of I choose peace over this, or I am not going to give you the power to cause my heart attack. And most importantly, develop service mentality. Live through each moment with the attitude of how may I serve rather than what's in it for me. And, I've talked about that before on here, is that what we do know is that when we release a hormone called oxytocin, oxytocin is really, really good for heart health, because oxytocin helps get widen your blood vessels, so reduces your blood pressure, and you've got that lovely flow of blood going through. And we get oxytocin from service, not service as in being forced to do things, but actually kind of just having that attitude of, oh, how can I help? So, I'm going to go and volunteer today, or I'm going to do something. I'm going to do an act of kindness to someone today, whatever it is. But when we're in that place of what can I do to help others? How can I help others? How can I be of service? When we're in that frame of mind, we do produce more oxytocin from that, even just like things like, when we, like, okay, babies. when you cuddle a baby, when you breastfeed a baby, or even just like when you're, playing with a baby, they smile, whatever, that smile, that gives you oxytocin, right? So we get oxytocin from things like hugs, from things like cute babies, or might be cute animals, or a cute inspirational video. So that's why those videos are so popular, of that guy who does all those good deeds and gives people millions of dollars. I know it helps them, or you watch, even just watching videos of, the is it Ted Noffs, who was going overseas and curing blindness in people, amazing. And you watch those videos and, you produce oxytocin. So partly we produce oxytocin from that kind of cuddle factor, or from that feeling happy and enjoyment and cute babies, that sort of thing. But we also get it from doing good things. But the other thing is too, that when we are thinking outwards as far as how can I serve, we're not in our head constantly. So instead of being constantly in our head and thinking, oh, this, that, blah, 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 we're kind of just forget that, how can I help someone else? And because you're in the mode of doing something for someone else, you're not obsessing yourself, And so sometimes it's a really, really good way of getting you out of your head. And, I've talked before in regards to happiness. And happiness isn't, it doesn't mean you're walking around happy constantly. No one's walking around happy constantly. It's more just an attitude of being grateful, an attitude of service, an attitude of looking for the good in things, and looking for, I've done a previous episode not that long ago where I talked about looking at glimmers versus triggers. So looking for glimmers, the glimmers is the butterfly or whatever it is that you're seeing. And so we reduce our stress, and we are more happy when we are able to just look for the good in life, to, like I said, give service, see what is beautiful, but also just to be real. Being real doesn't mean necessarily being cynical and negative, because I know there is a lot of negative things in the world. But being real is just a certain acceptance. Okay, I accept that this is a situation, but what can I do? And just working within that. Now, recently I saw a video. Actually, I saw a few videos. There's an Instagram channel. Actually, I'll find the name of the Instagram channel, and I'll link it into the notes here, because it's such a lovely channel. So there's a little boy, I think he's in the US somewhere, and his name is Jackson, and he's got some sort of muscular disease. I think he's about 2 years old now, and he's got some sort of muscular disease where he has trouble with swallowing, and he has trouble with everything that you need muscles for, which is everything, right? Which is why I talk about muscles, so they're so important. You don't realize how important they are until you see someone who has muscles that don't work properly, right? Or until you start getting older and you can't do things. But this baby, he is so cute. He's absolutely beautiful. And he is, his parents are recording him, and I think they were told he's got the G tube, which is basically fed directly into his stomach. And they were told he'd never be able to eat, but he's able to eat now. He can't solely eat food. He has to still have the tube, but which he calls Tubby. It's so cute. But he, the fact that you can see how hard it is for him to eat food and to swallow, but he's happy, and he's got a lovely spirit, and you just see him, and you see him trying so hard to do life, the basic things in life. He's trying to get strong enough so he can hold his head up. He's trying to get strong enough so he can walk. He's trying to be able to swallow properly, and he's really got to think when he's swallowing, and really, he's had so much struggle in his life, but he's got such a beautiful spirit and beautiful personality. And it's sometimes things like that, like when I come across a video like that, I sort of start thinking, what problems? Do I have problems? No, not compared to him, right? So, so not only is he beautiful, inspirational little boy, but he's also, and he's just like, just beautiful. He exudes this beautiful energy. But also he's just like, it's a reality check, right? That what little boy is doing the best he can. His parents are doing the best they can by the looks of things, and good on them. But just, you know, uh, when we have a bit of a reality check, when we're a bit more in tune with what do we have. So if you're able to get up and walk around, if you're able to swallow your food, if you're able to access clean, good food, if you have electricity, all those things, so just remembering. So happiness is important, but happiness it's not so much going like outwardly looking for other people to make us happy, or things or whatever to make us happy. It's more kind of if you're more happy, if you're just in general grateful for what you do have, if you're grateful that you can go out and get food and you've got access to it and it's safe and all of those things. So that's part of the sort of strategies for the principles for good heart health. So I just thought it's important to mention all those things. I've talked to a lot about managing stress before. You can find a lot of episodes where I talk about breathing or different things in regards to food and mood and whatever it is. But I think if we if you eat well and you're moving your body and you're making sure you're getting plenty of sleep and you're really kind of avoiding and reducing addictions and get sort of support for those if that's what you need to do, and we're sort of embracing an attitude of gratitude and kind of choosing to be happy and choosing to make the best of things. That is all really, really good for your heart health. So remember that it's really important. Your heart is a muscle, and it does needs your support to stay healthy. And if your heart's doing well, it will support all other things. And like I said, circulation to all the other places, including your brain. So it's funny because sometimes when we talk about brain health and heart health, we talk about them like they're two different things. And I get that they might be slightly different, but really not really, because it all comes down to circulation. So you need all the nutrients to go to your brain, so your brain's going to function, right? So you need the circulation, so you need the heart health. But not only that, it's like when we talk about healthy blood vessels and all that. Again, it's heart and it's brain, and so they're all connected. And a healthy heart diet is really a diet that's really good for your metabolic health, and really healthy metabolic health is really good for your brain. So I think that we forget sometimes we separate all of the bits and pieces and think that they're different things, but ultimately the way you eat for heart health is going to also be good for your brain and for other things as well. So anyway, I hope that was useful for you, and I thank you for listening to the podcast. Please like, share, and subscribe. Share this episode with friends or family, and you can also please comment on it. Tell me what you do, what's helpful for you, and just remember, this is a podcast where I like to have real conversations about things that matter, and I think that we've really got to get real about heart health, and so hope you have a wonderful week, and I'll talk to you all again next week. Thanks. Bye bye.